Go.
China throws a curveball at Taiwan as they launch a massive sea and air combat exercise around the island. What could they be planning? Is this the start of World War III? And more importantly, can it help you improve your English? Find out right now on English News Worth Talking About. Hey there, I'm so glad you're joining me for English News Worth Talking About. My name is Dennis Wilborn, and I'm the founder of All About English. I am an entrepreneur, English coach, and a former sailor who's passionate about helping people learn and improve their English skills. So if you're looking for a fun and engaging way to stay on top of current events in English, you are in the right place. Every Monday and Friday, I break down some of the most interesting and popular news stories chosen by my clients and share why they're worth talking about, except for today. Today, we've got some breaking news out of China and Taiwan. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's get started. Today is, what is today? Today is Monday, 9th of January, January the 9th. 2023. And today, as I said, is a breaking news update. It just came in. I was actually planning to discuss and do a story about the CES show, the Consumer Electronics Show in in Las Vegas, Nevada. But then, as I was preparing, I find this article pop up in my news stream. This is from the Post Millennial, and it's quite the follow up to the topic that we did on Friday about mandatory military service in Taiwan. So, before we dive in, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give this video a like, and if you're feeling extra generous, you can always buy me a cup of coffee because it is what I run on. There's a link in the description, and make sure you stick around until the end to hear all the thoughts about this article and let me know your thoughts as well. Our article today is titled Breaking. China launches massive sea air combat exercise, scrambles jets around Taiwan. Let's see what it's all about. We're going to start with vocabulary. And because this is an article that was not made for English, I had to dig in and do a little vocabulary myself. So the first word we have up is exercise. No, I'm not talking about going to the gym. I'm talking about a military training activity. Okay. You're going to hear this a lot these days, I think. Yeah, the military is conducting a large scale exercise to test its readiness for combat. Yeah, you probably hear this in the news quite often, a lot more. Most of the times when you hear exercise in the news, unless it's a health piece, you're going to hear them talking about the military doing exercises. It's what the military does. All right. The next word we have is air. Air. I know. Why would we think about air? Well, the reason why I bring up air today is because it actually has to do with the title of the article is in the title. There is an air campaign uh, and sea. So this is talking about the atmosphere and the space above the Earth's surface. It's where airplanes fly, like the sentence, the plane flew through the air at a high altitude. All right. And the next word we have is combat. Combat. That's fighting. It's a noun, fighting or warfare, especially between armed forces. Now, you can use combat um, when you're talking about, say, like MMA, mixed martial arts, and things like that. They call that hand to hand combat. For example, the soldiers were trained in hand to hand combat techniques. Um, but so you're going to hear combat in this article. Yeah, hopefully we don't see too much actual combat like what they're seeing in Ukraine. Next up, massive. Massive. Something that's massive. This is an adjective. Massive is very large in size or in quantity. Okay, in size or quantity. Like, I wish I had a massive wallet, but I don't. The explosion caused massive damage to the building. I mean, you could really go crazy with the word massive. The massive explosion caused massive damage to the building. Um, Next up, launch. Launch. Now, this is a verb. Normally, when you think of a launch, you're thinking of a rocket ship shooting up into space. But in this case, a launch means to start or set something in motion, kind of like a rocket going into space. You're starting it and setting it in motion. But um, we often use launch to describe starting something like a venture or a business, or as the simple sentence here says, the company is launching a new product next month. Woo, I'm so excited. Which I was going to talk about in the CES show, but maybe we'll talk about that later on in the week. It's kind of cool. It's like technology and stuff. But I figured this was a bit more pressing because it is like it's related to majority of the people who watch my videos and take classes with me. Yeah, it's kind of important for us in Asia over here. The last word is relations, the way in which two or more people or groups feel and behave towards each other. Hmm. Well, let's see. The sample sentence we have is the ambassador is working to improve relationships or relations between the two countries. Now, relations is similar to relationships, except we're specifically talking about the feelings and the behavior between two or more people or groups. Okay, so it's not like relationship, like I'm in a relationship with my wife, or so it's not quite the same. It's similar, but not the same. Relations, the way in which two or more people or groups feel and behave towards each other. All right, let's jump into this article. Now, again, this is from the postmillennial.com. I'll leave a link in the description to the article. Breaking: China launches massive sea and air combat exercise, scrambles jets around Taiwan. Quote, PLA Eastern Theater Command held cross service joint alert patrol and combat drills in waters, aerial areas around Taiwan Island on Sunday, focusing on land attack and sea assault. Oh, look at that. There's old Xi Jinping right there. On Sunday, the People's Republic of China's military force, the People's Liberation Army, began combat drills in the waters and aerial areas around Taiwan, claiming the move was, quote, countering collusion between external forces and TW, Taiwan secessionists. Wow, them's fighting words. Huh. Secessionists, huh? Chinese state-owned media Global Times posted on Twitter, breaking: PLA Eastern Theater Command held cross-service joint alert patrol. Okay, we just read that. In a move countering collusion between external forces and Taiwan secessionists. Spokesperson. Wow, that is straight from the Global Times. Now, if you don't know, the Global Times is China state affiliated media. They are, it says right there on the Twitter page, they are owned by, they're owned by China. They're operated by China. So yeah, take them at a grain of thought. Take them with a grain of salt. Um, as far as the reliability of their news. Here's a video. We're not going to watch that. On Twitter, Twitter is, by the way, if you don't use Twitter, Twitter is a great place to get the news. I didn't use it very much before because it was just a censorship nightmare. But these days, it has been really opened up. You can hear everybody's opinions on everything, and if you got thick skin, it's a great place to go hear alternative viewpoints. All right, on Twitter, Jack Posobiec wrote, breaking, China just launched a massive sea and air combat exercise around Taiwan Island. They say their goal is to counter external forces colluding with Taiwan secessionists. So if you don't know, a secessionist, that's a really good word. When you're reading an article and you see a word you don't know, highlight it. Well, I mean, if you're reading it on the computer, highlight it, right click, and then click on search. And you can find what it means, but you just click on the search button and boom, look, you've got a specific definition there. Secessionist, specifically a member of a body of artists, differs from and protests against the accepted traditions of older societies. One who maintains the principle of secessionism. Oh, you might have to dig a little bit deeper, but my point is use that as a way to find out what the meanings of words are if you're ever confused. All right. So there's Jack Posobiec's sharing the Global Times and talking about China launching a massive sea assault. The drills come days after Biden's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, spoke with Steve Inskeep, host of NPR's Morning Edition, on Thursday and said that it will take, quote unquote, hard work to avoid military conflict with China over Taiwan, a self-governed country that China claims is part of its greater domain under their one China principle. All right. So if you don't know, the one China principle originates out of the People's Republic of China and states that Taiwan is part of Greater China. That's right. They say Taiwan belongs to us and we get to decide what happens with Taiwan. Well, I don't know about you, but I think Taiwan might have something to say against that. The one China policy is the diplomatic positioning from the US and allies that acknowledge Taiwan as technically a part of China, even while diplomatic relations exist within the internal government of Taiwan called the Republic of China. So that's just a big word salad to explain that the United States and many other countries in the world pretend that China is the only China that there is, even while acknowledging that Taiwan is technically, uh, actually is part of its own entity. It's kind of a backhanded, horrible thing to do, all in the name of money, but that's just my opinion. Um, yeah, originally, the United States looked at mainland China as the the illegitimate China, and they looked at Taiwan as the legitimate China, the actual China. It wasn't until later on, after several things happening diplomatically, that that turned around. It's unfortunate, but that's what happened. China has scrambled jets over the region Sunday. Jack Posobiec tweeted, China just scrambled jets around Taiwan Island. Oh, look at this video. China just scrambled jets. Can you hear this? Not sure if you can or not. I don't read the added stuff there, but yeah, very interesting. China just scrambled jets around Taiwan Island. Now we're going to go into a little bit of backstory. I'm not going to read too much more about this because everybody's already aware that the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan in August 2nd, despite warnings from China that it could be considered an act of aggression. Chinese President Xi Jinping told Joe Biden directly that Pelosi shouldn't visit Taiwan and said those who play with fire will only get burnt, as a warning to the American leader. And then soon after that, they began war games, launching they even launched missiles over the strait and raised and escalated tensions in the region and with the US and Japan, too, if I'm not mistaken. And on his Human Events podcast, Jack Posobiec, whose recent China Files detailed the history of Red China, including its geopolitical positioning concerning Taiwan, said the Chinese leader's comments to Biden were the equivalent of telling the US president that there was nothing the West could do about China's ambitions of taking over Taiwan. I normally don't plug things, but I really enjoy the Human Events podcast. Jack Posobiec is a very intelligent commentator. He's a former Navy officer, intelligence officer. He speaks fluent Chinese, from what I understand, and his shows are very interesting. Not to mention, they're short. They're less than 30 minutes, and you get a nice rundown of the day's news. And he does specials like he did three or four, no, he did a 4-part special, but I think he added another one recently about China. Very good if you're interested in Chinese history that you might not read in a history book. Yeah, so this is a bit more history. Yeah, they fired 11 missiles after Pelosi's visit. They deployed 68 planes, 49 aircraft. Chinese aircraft penetrated Taiwan's air defense identification zone. Basically, it was, a big show, big flex, but it also prevented shipping and airplane traffic from coming into, well, mostly shipping. I think airplane traffic was okay, but shipping was prevented for several days of entering into Taiwan. So China also expressed recent concerns over provisions for Taiwan in Biden's massive, and it really was massive, $1.7 trillion government omnibus bill. As a response, they began military exercises in the Taiwan Strait. So there are provisions for Taiwan and for the defense of Taiwan in the big, giant $1.7 trillion omnibus bill that was recently signed by Joe Biden. And on multiple occasions, speaking of Joe Biden has simultaneously said the U.S. respects China's policy of sovereignty over Taiwan, while saying that the U.S. would defend Taiwan militarily if China invaded, including in May and September. Sunday, again, Jack Posobiec tweeted that the CCP has demanded the U.S. cease military sales to Taiwan, or they will respond with force. And again, this was a tweet by Jack Posobiec with a member of the Foreign Affairs Ministry in China, basically saying, stop selling guns and ammunition to China, to Taiwan, excuse me. I'll let you watch that. Again, link will be in the description. And that is the end of that article. Whew, boy, I tell you, let's come over to my favorite section here. That's right. My favorite section of the show is Question Everything. It really is. It's the most interesting segment. It's where I invite you to ask questions and explore new ways to look at the world around you. Really, don't believe everything you hear. Look for alternative sources of media and just really question everything you read. So what do you think? How do you think that the today sea and air combat exercise that's been launched by China around Taiwan, how's that going to affect the relationships or the relations? There I go again. How will that impact relations between the two countries? That is a good question. I mean, honestly, the relations were already getting pretty strained. There's a lot of difficulty in trade. They're always, but it's just been escalating one little step step by step. And with all of the stuff happening in China right now with the COVID and the massive amounts of cases of COVID right now, it's very interesting that they should choose this time to have this kind of activity. So that asks me, so leave your comments. How do you think that this is going to affect the relations? But also, do you think this exercise is a show of force by China, or is it a necessary military training exercise? Well, I'm very curious to know what you think. Personally, didn't they just have a training exercise with Russia just like last week or the week before? I'm pretty sure their military is getting a lot of exercise. Why are they doing this one? I think it's it's a big flex. I think they're flexing their muscles. We don't know. We won't know, but that's what it looks like to me. And I'd love to hear what you think. In your opinion, though, how should Taiwan and how should the international community respond to this particular exercise? I'm very curious to see just what happens. I haven't seen much in the way of news about this story since I started working on it this morning. Now, there may be more news popping up now, but what should be the response by Taiwan and the international community? Let me know. Share your answer in the comments or send me a message directly, and I will feature some of the best responses at the end of each episode. So don't be shy. Now, if you're looking for support in improving your English skills and staying up to date on current events, consider joining me for a one-on-one or a group class. You can find the link in the description. That's for Amazing Talker. And that is all the time we have for today. I kind of threw this together at the last minute, so stay tuned, follow for more updates, and try to stay on top of what is going on in China. See you next time. Thank you for watching, and don't forget your homework. Share this program with a friend and hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be featured in the next video, make sure you leave your answers to one or more of the questions in the comments. And for more news, click over here. And if you want talking tips, click over here. And always remember to stay curious and question everything. Thanks for watching and have a great day.